Hello, everyone. This is John McCormick, and I have the pleasure of interviewing again a very talented writer and author, Dorothy Robey. Welcome, Dorothy.
Hello, nice to be here again.
Yeah, well, we're going to talk about what you've already accomplished, and then at the end, we want to talk about what you've been working on, what's in the works. But I just want to say you've been really busy, for the last couple of years. In May of 2020, you published your first novel, Passage of Promise, and now, just by coincidence, I guess it is, but on May of 2022, you published your fifth, novel. So I mean, that's just amazing in 2 years to accomplish that. And what we're going to do today is also spend a lot of time talking about your current book that you just published, and that's Painted with Good Intentions. But I thought we should touch on your other 4 books a little bit because in case someone hasn't seen our previous interviews, I just want to mention this is like our 5th interview. They started with radio shows back before you even published your first book.
Yeah.
And then we moved on to Zoom interviews, which I think is really fun, Yeah. So I just want to first say the titles of the books, and then we're going to dive right in and talk about them. But we have Passage of Promise, your debut novel, which, by the way, I have here. I have all your novels. I've read them all. I love them all. And then we have What She Didn't Know, which came out after that. And then Behind the Stone House. And then The Rocky Retreat and Painted with Good Intentions. And all of these books are available in paper book and ebook, except for The Rocky Retreat, which is just an ebook.
Yeah.
So before we discuss, like I said, your recent book, maybe again we should just touch on your previous novels so everyone has an idea of what they're about. And when they go to look you up and say, hey, this is Dorothy Robey, these are her books, they'll have some idea what they're about,
Right,
So
right.
So why don't we talk about Passage of Promise? What can you tell us about that novel?
That one took me the longest to write because I just come back to writing. So it was a long project,
Right.
5 years. And it's a women's fiction, but it also has a little bit of romance, and it has Greek Orthodox traditions and a lot to do with family issues. And most of my books are kind of like that, with
Right.
the same kind of thing, women's fiction, family issues. But, I throw in suspense and supernatural things and mystery sometimes, and kind of, but that's basically, and sometimes humor. I do have humor.
Oh, I love the humor that you put in your books. Yes. Yes. Especially the last one was really, really enjoyable. I really enjoyed, that. And then Rocky, of course, too. But we're going to talk more about that in a minute. Yeah. But what more can you tell us about it? It was just your first book. Wow.
I used personal experiences, especially in that book, because of my son's medical conditions. So it helped me to write about it, which coincidentally, I didn't get to tell you this before. So this, in any of our other interviews, I don't recall saying this, but and I don't want to give anything away, but what happens in that book, although fiction, in real life came true for us.
Oh.
So, it in September 2020, which was kind of interesting because it was May when I published that, and then later on, So I don't want to give too much away, but yeah.
No, yeah, right. Okay, well, maybe in the future we can talk more about that.
Yeah, it's kind of neat. Yeah, so I mean, it's just kind of funny because you're like, oh, I wrote this, and then things happen, and so it's
yeah,
that was very something very interesting, very unexpected, but it happened. Yeah.
Right, right. Well, I just really enjoyed
Oh, and
that book.
it's
Oh,
set in Greece. I forgot about that. So the setting is in the Greek island of Santorini, as well as the Greek island of Aegina, and then in Athens portions. So, and it also is, half of it is also back in Colorado. So you get kind of a mixture of places. So it's not just like one, like most places, it's usually like one setting, but this one, it goes back and forth towards the end.
that's right. That's right. Well, I really enjoyed it. I mean, the fact that you set it in Greece, I mean, that's a place I've always wanted to go. And I felt like I went there when I read your book because you write so descriptive, of the scenes and everything, the smells, just everything. And I really enjoyed it. And I was touched by it too. Like you said, it's a story that's very touching and focuses on faith a lot. And so, yeah, I really enjoyed that. And so I recommend, got to get this book. So now let's talk about your second novel, which is, what is it called? What She Didn't Know. What can you tell us
Yeah.
about that book?
Well, each book is special. This one for me was my deepest and most, I really think that one, it was kind of a challenge because I had to, the characters were so different from each other. And that takes a little effort. It's not really, easy. As a writer, you try to do that, but sometimes that doesn't always come off too well. But this one in particular, I worked really hard on each of their storylines. I know that one of my critique partners, the one that's it's a British man who lives in he's from England, but he lives in France with his wife because she's French. And he had said that the stories are so their own that they could live on their own without the other two. I mean, that's how he said it was so well done, but then
Right.
coming together with the three sisters. So the three sisters had a traumatic upbringing with a abusive alcoholic father, a physically abusive father, and each one had a different type of trauma from that. And that's what I worked to show, is how different each one of them was affected by that.
Oh, there's the kitty.
Sure. But because if, as we know, each person is going to have a different look and view and perspective and how they were treated,
Mm-hmm.
then, so to me, I wanted to make sure that came through. And I also wanted to make sure that every single character, basically every single character, was as broken as they could be.
Yeah.
Cookie, stop that. She's trying to get in the cabinet. Cookie.
Uh-oh.
But I mean, yeah, so that to me, I was thinking about that actually the other day, because you have all these characters. You have the main sisters, and you have the mother, and you have the friends, and then you have the boyfriends and the husband and all these people. And none of them have a life that's really really good. They're kind of all messed up. And I like that. I find that just more real to me.
Absolutely.
Everybody's perfect, boring, you have that.
No,
Right?
they were all independent, like you said, of each other.
Yes.
So
So you follow each of their paths and see where they go. And each one has a different path. But they work out, they have to work together,
right,
and deal with things. And so it's my meatiest, deepest book
right,
as far
right.
as characterization goes. I'm really proud of that one, actually.
Yeah.
That one, That one was like, I actually read it. I actually read it like like 3 or 4 weeks ago, because I don't usually open my own books. I'm afraid to open it because I'm like, oh, what am I going to find? Something wrong.
Right.
So I read passage and I was like, oh, this is good. And then I was reading it and I was like, hey, this is really good. You almost forget you write it.
And then
Because you
you
just
want, yeah. You're like, did I write this?
exactly.
Yeah.
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 So it was like, wow, this is really good. So yeah, that one's really good. Each one has a special thing. Like I said, the first one is special because of personal. This one's special because I really did a challenging thing that I haven't, I didn't grow up that way. So to me, I was surprised that I was able to write that. And I heard so many people saying, wow, you're really good with, abuse and everything. And I'm going, I thought, wow, okay. But I didn't know, I just went by how I'm kind of good with emotion. I just go by however people would feel, and I do know that my fellow writers tell me that I'm good with emotion. So I can draw, that's my most important thing, is drawing the people into that through the emotion in all my stories.
Yeah.
That's what I like to read.
Yeah,
I want to
absolutely.
be invested. So
Well, I
yeah.
was very invested in this story because I could relate to it a lot, and and like with the one of the main characters, Gloria, I really could relate to her, and it just made it more personal for me, so I really enjoyed the book a lot.
Yes, I know. I mean, I told you my editor, her favorite was Gloria as well.
Oh,
And that's why I kind of did that one survey, because I was just curious. I said, is it everybody just likes Gloria? Or what
oh,
about that? I mean, did anybody like the others? For me personally, I like Gloria, but I connected well with Seraphima.
yes, yeah,
Because I felt she wasn't, it wasn't like she was a bad person. She had so many things, and so much, and it's so relatable to women that age of the self-esteem issue and all that. And for me, there's a touch of me in every woman except Mike. Mike was fun to write because she was such a powerhouse, and I have never been a powerful person. So for me, I had a great time writing her.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it was just great. It was nice, a little piece of each one, and they each have their own little thing. I wish I could remember what my friend said about the three different. I should have asked her before I talked to you, because there was like three different elements or something that you think of these sisters in, and it was
Right.
yeah, and it was a spiritual one, but now I can't remember what it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was really, I think it was like, well, one of them was desire, then another one was like freedom, and then I forget what the other one was. But there's just, you could tell that they fit into those three, and they do. They each have their own, and I do think that they kind of complement each other.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Because you get the strength when the other two might have been more too upset to do anything. Then you have the one that continues to take care of things that are difficult.
Right. Right.
And then you have the other ones that are there with the empathy that is needed, where the other one doesn't have it. So you kind of, so
Yeah.
you can have that. Yeah.
Now you did a great job creating those characters.
I mean,
Yeah.
even with Tina, it's like, I even had my editor, she's like, why is Mike being nicer? Well, again, I always surprise my readers when I make people they think they don't like, and I make them okay.
Right. You care about all the characters by the
Yes,
end.
you don't
Yeah.
make it like, okay, here, I don't write like black and white. This person's bad, this person's good. Everybody was struggling in that. And people are like, well, Tina's this and that, and she's terrible, blah, blah. Well, she has her own stuff.
Right, right. Yeah,
And I mean, when we think about what happens in that book, I mean, how do you think she felt when some things happened? I mean, that's
right.
difficult, I mean, how do you live with that, really? Right? So those things, I mean, this book should be a book club book to discuss, because there's so many things in there.
Well, I've recommended your books, to book clubs and different things. So it's,
I
I'm
really
really,
appreciate it. You're a great marketer.
I try, I try.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
your next book is Behind the Stone House. Now, this one is really
Yeah.
touching and just amazing. And what can you tell us about that novel?
Oh man, I'm trying to remember when I started writing that. Was it before or after Christmas 2017 into 2018? I think it might have been January 2018. But it just came about out of the blue, where you just start, a person comes to your mind, a character, and you're thinking, well, I'm going to write about this character, and then I'm going to make her, a widow, and then, well, let me see, she's sitting at this cafe. I'm starting to think about all this. And with that story, I kind of had some ideas, notes, but some of that stuff just came to me and I wrote it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't even remember how I came up with Jordan and the whole thing with the homeless, but I was like, yeah, I want to go this route. Because I wanted to show, when I started getting into that, I really wanted to show a perspective of being homeless, even though I hadn't been homeless. I wanted people to understand, some of people who have been homeless, what they have to live through
Right.
and what they go through, where it's not all people on drugs, it's not all people who are drinking, and there are some people that just, they lose their work, they lose and they just don't have anything. I mean, the 2008 crisis, people lost their houses, they were out of their houses, right? So
That's right.
It happens. And so you want to notice that, you'll notice that anybody can have this happen. If something happens bad in your life, it can happen to you.
Yeah.
So that was the kind of thing I was going down, the message. And you even wrote that in your review, and some others, is that she works through all of her grief through concentrating on her deceased husband's cousin.
Right.
And so in a way, when you do that, you kind of like, not that you're not thinking about what happened, but you're kind of able to you find a purpose to do something besides just, give up or. And so I thought that would be good. And a lot of my critiquers did not like the way, I don't want to give it away, but a few of them wanted me to be harsher on the homeless person and how she felt about him. But for my faith, that's not how it works.
Right.
My faith, you don't do revenge. You don't do, you see people as people, and, forgiveness, and you realize why things are happening. And that was another reason why I did that. When you feel like you realize why that's happening, it's not just random. You realize, okay, this person, has their own story.
Right.
So that's what I did.
Yeah, I think it's wonderful the way they kind of helped each other in life, so
Yes.
that's what made it so special, I think. The most.
Yeah. And they had a certain, they became close, like brother and sister.
Yeah.
And they just kind of, even though they knew each other before, they didn't really have that connection.
Yeah.
So it was kind of
So you went from that topic, which was kind of, intense, and then you wrote The Rocky Retreat, which was just really entertaining. And what can you tell us about that?
that one I actually started in 2015. It was
Oh,
sitting
okay.
there for a long time. I wrote it way back. I mean, I was still in college. I wrote that in 2015, kind of revised it in 16. And I would read it to my son, my older son, and we just laugh. We would have such a good time. I was like, this is hilarious. I just sit down and start laughing,
Right, right.
And I thought, eventually I've got to do something with this. So I eventually, cleaned it up and thought, yeah, but I'll just put it in an ebook because, it's shorter and it's not worth the print. So I thought, we'll just do that. And that one, that I don't even remember how I think I just started writing, and I was like, oh yeah, I'll just write about do this and it's a little bit different because it's in first person, and I don't usually like to write in first person, but in this case,
Right.
I did. And the characters are just so so funny. I mean, and so I don't know. I tried to make everybody so ridiculous and kind of like I didn't want anybody to not notice the hypocrisy of everything.
Right.
It's
Right.
funny. So I mean, that's if people take things so seriously, and I tried to pull out the most extreme examples of people and how, and then putting them in this there's these events and settings and then you look inside and you're like, man, these people are really a bit much. And then you're like, okay. But again, I did a message of, look, we're all human at the end. So, I think what I was trying to say is these environmentalists go to this retreat and, they do that every year at a different spot.
Right.
Hallie and Andy. And well, all kinds of things happen while they're there. And, she's just like, and they're only there for a 4-day weekend. So it's not that long, but a lot of things happen. And it's just interesting that they all have these assumptions of each other. Oh, they're like this person. Oh, look at those people. Then, and then you find some of the people you think are so not like you are really not that different.
Right, right.
And then you're like, oh, why am I talking to this person? And they're talking to you like a normal human, and you're thinking, oh, because people get so polarized
Right.
on everything that I think they forget to make people. They look them as like a cardboard cutout of like a label of something they don't agree with. And then you realize, no, they just have a different perspective, and they too want what's best or believe they're doing what's best, because they do. They believe what they're doing is best. Now, of course, there are some people that are just crazy out there, which is which is in the book. But I mean, we try to make we have tried to be fair. I try to be fair with everybody and just say each person, because you know how easy it is. People read it. Oh,
There's a lot of controversial topics that you have.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you mix it together with all the fun and everything. So I really enjoyed it.
I know that one part where she's up in the mountains, she decided to do that hike, and she's all freaking out over stuff, and it ends the chapter. She's like, ah! But the reason why she's upset is just hysterical. So it's just one of those things you have to read to find out. But I remember it was just funny. They're like, oh no, what could it be? My writing friends, they're like, so it was a fun one to write. It's
Yeah,
fun.
yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm really excited to talk about your most recent novel, and that
Yeah.
is Painted with Good Intentions. Now, when I look at this book, what I see is a very colorful cover. It just makes you want to pick it up, and say, what is this about? And then when you turn it around and read the blurb, it just makes you want to read it. So
Oh, great.
good job on that,
Thank you.
you know.
Well,
Yeah,
the cover took a long time to figure out. I was like, oh, I don't want to do this. But that cover works because it has so much symbolism to it. Because you have the painting,
right.
and then even the font I used in a painting sort of way, painterly way. And then you have the boat that's in
Hmm.
it. And then, of course, the island. And I just thought that's perfect. So,
Yeah, it is. I mean, when you read the book, you'll see that it is perfect. It's true. That is true. So, what can you tell us about your book?
well, each book is fun, but this particular one for me was the most enjoyable and fun for me to write. And the characters were I just loved them.
Yes.
I just really loved the characters. I mean, I always liked my characters, but these characters, for some reason, I just, I didn't not like any of them.
Right. No, I loved
All
all the characters. Yeah.
loved them. And so this one, I had a kind of idea of what I was going to write. And then, I always write notes about where I want it to go. Because if I
Mhm.
don't write anything on where the plot goes, or if I don't have an idea of an ending, it's not going to finish. As I said, a writing coach said, if you don't know the end, you're really not going to finish. And I think she's right. And so this one has everything in it. Like I told you before you read it, I said, well, this one has everything. It has romance, it has mystery, it has suspense. It has humor, it has supernatural, spiritual. Just to me, everything you want in a book.
Yes. Yes.
So, I always feel like even when you're in a difficult, even when you read some parts that are difficult, there's lighter parts. And then there's other areas that are really touching. And touching for both of them, which I really love about that, is that Christina has her own touching moments, and then Nathan has his own things, and that's good because you always want your characters to have their own life struggles. And some people didn't like the fact that, oh, Nathan is complaining about his looks. Yes, but I wanted people to see the other side that some people have in that realm.
Right. Right.
And so I went that way. But what's interesting about the two characters is how much they have in common without realizing.
Without saying what it's about. Yeah.
Yeah. Things just come to you when you write, so you start putting things in. Now, the most fun character for me to write was
Let me guess. Becky and
yes,
George.
I love
Those were
that.
my favorite characters. I mean,
George
I loved all the
cracking me up.
characters, but you must
Yes.
have had a lot of fun writing
Oh,
about
it was fun. And some of the lines of Becky's I just still laugh at and I still remember, because like one of my favorites is when Christina's complaining and she's like, she wants a certain person to disappear. And Becky says it's something like, it's too bad I'm not a magician.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just fun, they're, and really people have said, oh, they're so different, the character, the friends, how could they
Mhm.
get along? But then they realize how those friends help each other out, when,
Right.
and what's so interesting about this book is it's so the opposite of what regular stories are like.
Mhm.
The heroes and the ones that get saved, you always think it's the typical, and it's
Yeah.
not.
Right.
So
Right.
that's what makes it kind of different. So yes, back in and it's set back in Santorini because I loved it there when I visited in 2010.
I was going to ask you about that. Why you said it again in Santorini? Yeah. Mm.
I would go back. I really would like to go back because um, when I went there, and I did not like the ferry ride, by the way, because I really don't like being on boats.
Yeah, yeah.
Train the best, but I had to ride a ferry for like 8 hours,
Oh, wow.
and then on the way back we took a 5 hour one, so it was a little bit faster. But I was like, well, that's not really my favorite part. I really didn't like the ferry rides, but the island, I mean, as soon as you get there, and as soon as you're there, I mean, all of my stressors, that you get from travel or you get from whatever, and I'm just a naturally anxiety ridden person. So when I was there, the first night I slept, I didn't, I have things with TMJ. I didn't clench. I just slept. And
Oh,
the
yeah.
time I was there was like I stepped into a postcard. I mean, it literally feels like that. It's just it's a wonderful place. It's a wonderful place. Um, it's really worth going if anybody wants to
But
go.
the way you write about it is like a postcard. I mean, you really feel all the senses about being there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Like I make sure to do the motorcycle, because they always have little motorcycles you can rent there.
Oh,
And I said, oh, I'm going to do that this time. I'm going to put them on a motorcycle because I hadn't done that before. And, that's a common thing that tourists take around there. Now, the
oh,
island,
okay.
it's not that, the island, you get one side or the other, it's a few miles. It's not that huge. But
Right, right.
yeah, so that was just really, that was fun. And then, of course, you had all the supernatural portions of it.
Right,
And
right.
initially, when I started writing it, I wasn't sure what I was going to do with that particular character. And it came later, and I was like, yeah. So,
Right.
yeah.
No, yeah, that was a good addition to the story, very good.
Yeah, it's like
And,
all kinds of stuff.
and I really liked Nathan's friend that came, the other friend, the female
Oh,
friend.
yes.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good storyline too. Yeah, very
It is.
surprising, so I enjoyed it.
One of my friends liked Nathan's uncle. She really liked him.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, he was fun. I mean, and his grandfather. It's just a lot of good family connections in there
Hmm.
that I thought was really nice. So,
And I wanted to ask you, we've talked about it before in interviews, because a lot of your stories, really do relate around faith. And I just wanted to ask you again how important that is to you, and why you want to include that a lot.
I don't know if it's important. Sometimes it is, but most of the times it just happens.
It's
It
just
just
who you
comes in.
are, yeah.
Yeah, it just comes into play. My newest book, which we'll discuss in a little bit,
Yeah.
it definitely is on purpose. And I am showing kind of the lifestyle, the thoughts, the um, the way of Eastern Orthodoxy. So it'll be an interesting. There's actually a dichotomy because there's that portion, then there's another portion of people, two different pairs of groups of people.
Hmm.
And so it's kind of like, and I don't know if I mean, I think, yeah, I did post the blurb that I was working on for that. So
Oh, you
I don't,
did? Okay. I haven't read that yet.
yeah, I'd have to look it up because it's been a while since I wrote it. But I might, well, I could look on my phone. I could get my phone and see if I can, oh, I think I can. Let me grab my phone and I'll let you know.
Sure.
Hey, if there's
Sure.
anything else you want to tell me about pain, I'll be right back. Think about it.
Okay.
see if I can actually get in that. See if this will come up here. So is there any other things you wanted to say about Painted?
Just that I loved it. It was wonderful.
It was, yeah, it was,
And it's a
it was
privilege to read all your books. You know, I enjoyed all of them, and I'm a big fan.
Well, thank you. Okay, so here's the rough draft, the one I'm writing right now, which I've been writing since January 2020.
Okay.
Okay, it's been a very challenging book because I've never written in this genre before. So I've narrowed it down to 3 genres in
Oh,
one.
wow. Okay.
So I have speculative, dystopian, and Eastern Orthodoxy.
Okay. Sounds like a good mix.
Yeah, so the people reading it right now are enjoying it. So, and there is no, I had to stop so many times because I really didn't have the ending figured out. So, you know, as I said, sometimes we don't know that, and you don't know how to get to that point. You end up kind of in a stuck spot for a while. So I was like that for a while.
Oh,
And then
okay.
I picked it back up probably a few months back when I started writing out, and I said, and it was only like a few weeks ago that I was like, okay, I know where I need to go. And material keeps pouring in to my head.
Wow.
Just like today, yesterday, I already had something else that's going to go off. And this one, I mean, it's piled with stuff. So,
Wow, nice.
so the rough draft for that is, for the blurb, is a rough draft blurb, and it says, the world is in turmoil from Russia to the United States. Monks Sergius and Herman from a monastery in Russia are sent to the United States to find a saint's prophetic writings and a small piece of the cross of Christ that went missing during Stalin's reign, but were then smuggled into America in 1978. Quiet introvert Stephanie Jenkins and her son and mother live in a town in Virginia during a pinnacle era where the American empire is in decline, proven by prolific mass shootings, wars raging, and an economy teetering on total collapse. Stephanie must face all the harrowing events falling down upon her and her family as they face a police state, full surveillance, loss of liberties, World War III, and loss of connection with each other. The monk search takes them to Virginia, to Stephanie's town. Will the monks and Stephanie's lives converge with shared interests in a world gone mad? The relics may be their only hope in saving themselves and the world.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's really intense.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
big,
And
big.
And yeah, it's so totally different than what you usually write about. But I mean, it's so, I mean, what's going on today? I mean, it's so, yeah.
That's what everybody keeps saying when they're reading it, because, you know, I've got the critique people, but it's just, I mean, I wrote this way back in, early 2020, and I feel like I've got it. I feel compelled that I have to write this. I feel like I have to get this out.
Yeah.
Which is kind of weird, but for me, I feel like I need to get this out before something actually comes true.
Right.
So that's what I've been working on. I had a story that I had started, which is another different, but it's kind of a darker one, but that one's kind of been shelved for a while, and I went back to this one. So I'm determined to finish this one. And I am so excited about this one because there's so much going on. And I'm like, I wrote a chapter a few nights ago, and it'd been a long time since I written anything. And then I was like, I ended it, and I thought, I know what's going to happen in the next chapter, and I can't write it. It's like, it's in my head, the whole chapter, and all I have to do is just write it down. No, I haven't done that, but I know, and I'm really excited about where this is going. I'm really excited about it. So yeah, done eventually.
Well, I can't wait to read it. I'm sure it's going to be fabulous.
Thanks. Yeah, I think I'm only about 27,000 words in, but still.
That's good. That's good.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, lots of stuff. So, and the other one is Becoming Her, but I haven't worked on that. That's shelved, but I'm sure I'll come back to it or do something with it. So,
Yeah. We should mention that that except for your first novel, you do write under a pen name, which is
yes.
Dorothea Anna. The first, because I didn't point that out, but for Passage of Promise, that would be Dorothy Robey. So
Right. Yeah.
I just wanted to mention that. And
Thank you.
now we should talk about, again, let everyone know how they can get copies, of your books. So I know they're all on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and globally, right?
Yes.
And ebooks too, like Kindle. So that's wonderful.
Still Nook, Apple Books.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. So, and all of them are at my sort of Castle Rock, which is about an hour north of me.
Yeah,
At the library there. All my books are there.
that's exciting to have them
Books,
there.
books. I don't think they have the Rocky Retreat in there. I don't recall if that's in there, but my 4 books are in there. And the ebooks. Apparently now they're doing ebooks there. So you can, if you wanted to at the library, you could do ebook. But all of them, in fact, Painted is still out and it's still checked out. I just wonder who there at that library knows me, or obviously they don't know me, but because I'm
Well,
like,
they're gonna know you. They're gonna know you.
I was like, wow, all these people, I don't know. So that's kind of exciting. And
That is
then
exciting.
I do have all my printed books at Sudden Fiction Books, which is in Castle Rock as well. It's a indie bookstore. And then, thanks to you, my books are in the San Francisco Library.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And those get checked out too.
I know. I'm shocked. I had no idea. I said, who knows me? Nobody knows. Because
Well,
I
I
knew
didn't
who had
check it
been.
out, so it's somebody
And I
else.
was like,
I
I
have
know,
my
I'm like-
copy. I have my copy. So
I'm like, wow, okay. Because
uh,
I don't know, but I was just thrilled. I'm so glad you helped me on that because, it's hard to get your stuff out to
yeah.
show to areas, but
Yeah, and
so-
I've recommended your book to many book clubs, so
oh, great.
I'm working on it.
Great marketer.
Well, we should also mention how they can follow you. You have your blog, and that is I just want to read it here. Dot loves to write .com.
It's under Modest Musings. That's the name of the blog.
Oh, right.
So the Modest Musings, and then my name, you could find it. And then I'm on Facebook. I have a author Facebook page.
That's
I
right.
have one on Twitter, and I'm on LinkedIn as well, but
Oh, okay.
hard to
And of
get
course, you
around.
have your YouTube channel.
Yes, I do have a YouTube channel. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's great. And is there anything else that we didn't talk about that you wanted to mention, or what you're going through, what's going on, or?
Ooh, well, I did have I do once in a while, I do signings. And
Oh, yeah,
I did,
I wanted to ask you about that.
yeah, I did one recently at my church. I think that was in July. And that was really nice. That went well. And so, it's funny because the people who are of my faith, a lot of the people who are my critique partners and who read my stuff aren't exactly aren't of my faith, and some of them aren't really even religious. So to me, I'm pretty touched by the fact that I have these group of writers who are my critique friends and friends, and they don't even really get into faith. And so
Right.
for me, and that's one of the reasons I write, is to share my faith, but nothing, and I want to stress this because sometimes, and by the way, I'll be doing a presentation on my book Painted with Good Intentions at the Parker Library, which is southeast of Denver,
Oh, wow.
in November. So, and I just want to stress this now, and hopefully everybody will hear this, that even though I have overt books on my faith, like Passage, Painted, none of them, according to the readers, the agnostics, none of them think that my books are preachy or
Right.
shoving anything down your throat.
That is absolutely true. That's absolutely true. Yes.
Because some people think that, and, oh, no, it's religious. It must be, this.
No,
No,
not
I
at
don't.
all. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's an important one.
You
So I
have
keep,
too much stuff going on in your books that to, just, to really enjoy about everything. So yeah, yeah. Well, I'm glad you mentioned that. That's good.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's not anything like some things you might read and go, oh, this is, this is too much. So no, it's not.
Well, I just want to say, we've always have a good time when we interview, and I just want to say I really feel privileged that you trust me, to tell your story and share your successes and everything. That really means a
Oh, of
lot to
course.
me.
Oh, of course. Yes. Well, we've been friends a long time, and I think that over the years, we've kind of grown to connect because we both are writers.
Right.
I always want to ask, how is your writing going?
Well, I'm working on a book. You talk about different genres, my book started off as a thriller. Then
Oh,
then I thought, well, maybe it should be a memoir because it's really based on true story, you know.
ah,
And then I thought, well, I used a lot of techniques and different things, so it's like a self-help book too. So, so I'm trying to figure out, is it 3 books, is it 2 books, or is it one book with all these things going on in it? But I've got over 40,000 words.
that's
So
good.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I want to
I
get
think
at
you're like
least
half.
65,000 or
Yeah,
70,000.
yeah,
That's my
yeah.
goal.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm working on it too.
Because, you just have to find, and that's the thing is when you're busy, it's hard to get, since I've had my job, it's been harder for me to get that time because you really have to have that time to just concentrate and be in that zone. You have to
Absolutely.
actually be in that, and you need to get in there, basically climb into that and be in there for a while. And you have to have that time and ability to do it, as
And
it's not
when
easy.
you're in that zone, it's so wonderful. I mean, I can write
Oh,
like 4,000 words in one
I
day, you
know.
know?
I
I
know.
mean, it's just amazing, and so I need to, like you said, I did go back to work, just part-time, but it does take away your energy a little bit and your time from it. So I need to
Your
get back.
creativity.
Yeah, I
So
need to get back, where I schedule my writing again, and hopefully we'll
at
be
least,
talking about something
yeah.
I've published someday.
Yeah, I know. It's good, that we should talk about how we're working through our stuff because it's important as writers that we, I mean, my partner, critique partners are very busy with their own stuff. And, one of them, Trisha, I think she's quite successful. She's doing really well. She does Regency romance and
Oh,
hers
okay.
really good. Um, and Trisha Messmer, if you want to look her up. And then my other friend, Michelle, she writes thrillers, and she was
Oh,
picked up by a traditional publisher. Her second book, she had like a series, and so I'm excited for them.
that is
It's
exciting.
so
Yeah.
I
Wow.
always, we support each other. We support, all of our endeavors because, in a world there's so many books, billions probably, that it's hard to be recognized, unless like you're someone who, and that's just so, I think people don't realize that becoming that famous is just so unreal, because I remember back years ago in my 20s, I heard that the chance of you getting published was 1%.
Oh, wow.
And if you wanted to do screenplays, it was a half of 1%. And that was in the 90s. So who knows what it is now? It may not be quite as, I mean, it's easy to get published now because people can do it themselves. So, but to be famous, I mean, you know, to really everybody knows your name is not as easy. I mean, that's a small
You're on
percentage.
your way, Dorothy. You're on your way.
Oh, I don't know, but
No, I mean, I can see all your books as movies, you know, because you write so descriptive and you can visualize each scene. So, yeah. So we'll
well,
be talking
I look at
about that
everything.
next time that happens. We'll be sure to interview
Oh
you.
yeah, because I'm a visual person, so I always see things as the whole scenes in my head. But
Yeah.
yeah, and I have been told that. So thank you very much. I at least have, you know, each strength and weakness you have as a writer. That's one of my strengths is my descriptions and this and settings. I do know
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Well, you know, it's been a privilege again, you know, to interview you. And I look forward to the next time we get together and talk about your new book that you're writing. Sounds exciting. And so, you know, just have a wonderful evening and we'll talk again soon.
Yes, and I want to thank you for always interviewing me, giving me this time, you know, to talk about my work. It's always important and special to me, and I really appreciate that, you know, you care, and you're always very welcoming, you know. Everything you talk about is always so it's so helpful, and it just it's nice to have an interviewer that understands the writing and, you know, all that and how it works, because some people can interview and not know anything about, you know, how this works.
Right.
So I always appreciate that you always help me out, so I always appreciate
Yeah,
it.
well, it's like I said, it's my pleasure, you know, my pleasure. So, but we're going to talk again really soon, I'm sure, because,
Okay,
and you have a wonderful evening and we'll talk
you
again.
too.
All righty.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
bye.